What is up, most distinguished YouTubers? For today, we are going to replace the output terminals on this old clunker machine. And someone in the comments a long time ago had recommended that I do it. And you know what? They're on to something. I'm going to take their advice, and that's what we're going to tackle today. And this originally had this push style, which kind of suck. And well, this cable's pretty well split and, well, it's Bluetooth controlled now since I cut it off. So it's time to put something more usable on this machine to where we can actually weld in the future with it. So we are going to upgrade to Dinse 3570, I believe they're considered, or basically half-inch Dinse roughly. All right, let's get into it. I apologize for the rain. It's been downpouring all day here, and this is a great job for a rainy day. So I already did the hardest part of this, which is to bore out these holes bigger and then notch it. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but I wanted to show you the original terminals. So these are like a push fit. It's a little bit of a taper fit, but if you look at that, how it has a bare electrode there. Well, if this is hanging out the front and you were to drop anything down, a piece of wire or a rod, and it hits that and touches anything, you just shorted this thing out. And even more interesting was this little lip here. Right here is all that separates your live terminals on this from the case. And when you look at these new ones, how much more materials there, a little bit safer. If you were to ever overheat this connector, you'd be in trouble. Pretty wild. So these terminals here may be similar to what you have, or maybe a little bit different, but you just, in this case, remove the outer nut, which the wire coming from the transformer was clamped to this, and you would spin it off, and then this one holds this onto the case. Very simple to remove these. The harder part is boring the hole on that. To bore the hole, I ended up using a step drill bit, which this thing was duller than shit, so it took me a while. If you're really hard up for tools, you could always use a file, but I pity you if that's what you're down to. But you do want to deburr this after you drill a hole, and the newer style Dinse connector has a tooth here, a keyway, that's got to fit to help prevent this from rotating. So for that, I just used this guy right here, just a carbide burr and a die grinder, and I ground a little notch in it. It doesn't have to be perfect in order to work. Very handy tool, although don't buy this one. This Milwaukee one sucks. I don't know, this is the only Milwaukee tool I've owned that I really don't like. It works like shit. So anyways, bored it out, and then these things fit through there and have a very simple assembly. Your Dinse connector goes through. You have a plastic washer that isolates the case from both sides of this connector, and then you have a locking ring and a bigger nut, and that holds it to the case. And then you have a simple bolt and lock washer and washer to hold the wire down on there. So let's go and put these on. So the cables are back on, hooked up, everything's tight, it's all looking good. This flat aluminum bar that goes to the negative, I ended up bending a little bit more out of the way because it was a little close to the side panel, and that's something you definitely don't want touching the side panel. Now, all of this schmoo, this metal dust, you want to clean all that out, because when that big fan kicks in on the back, if any of that gets sucked into the transformer, you could have a really bad day. Cool fireworks though. So I'm going to grab a brush, clean all of that out, and we'll go to conclusion. And just like that, we're done. Terminals are on, and they're a little bit more reassuring than them other ones that were on there. So a lot more positive of a connector, and it won't pull out anymore. Far safer in my opinion. And the cool thing is, all of my stick welding leads, this is for my Dynasty, but my ESOB ones all use the same Dinse, so now I have multiple stingers and ground cables to choose from. Makes it a lot easier to use this thing, and like I said, safer. Now, this is a job that you guys can tackle yourself, but like I said earlier in the video, you want to be careful and don't be an idiot. You know, I hate to put that disclaimer there because, well, for one, I believe in you guys, and two, I think that you're probably smarter than the average bear if you're watching this channel. But you want to be careful because some of these old welders do have capacitors in them, and they basically store charge even when they're unplugged. And if you go and do like I did and just unhook stuff, you could inadvertently shock yourself. So it goes without saying, like I said earlier in the video, if you don't know what you're doing and you don't feel comfortable playing around with what you got, there's no shame in just stepping away and saying this isn't for me. But for those of you that like to experiment and are reasonably safe, this is a very easy upgrade to do on your old welder, and it will basically perform better, at least in my opinion. I have never had really that good of luck with those pin style connectors. To me, they always are an issue. So this works great. And like I said, got multiple options for it. So if you got any comments, questions, thoughts on this, or if you've done it to your welder, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, until next time, guys, thanks for sticking around.